Okay, I assume I'm live. I do need to double check. Because YouTube keeps telling me that I'm not online. So let's double check what's going on. Okay. How are we doing? I think we should be fine, but I'm not sure. 3 viewers. So if I see viewers, I assume that you guys can see me too. Hello, hello. Okay, well, okay. Yeah, no, hello. Okay, YouTube definitely doesn't show me anything really. Like, oh, okay. Well, it only took about 10 minutes. Yeah, no, it took really long time for the stream to actually start for me on the YouTube side, but I guess now it's good. Okay, perfect. So, very good. Hi. Hello. Okay, I see people slowly rolling in. Daisy K. Hi. Nicole. Hello, hello. Okay, well, I'm kind of jumping in here just to jump in and chat with you guys. So it's a bit last minute, as most of my streams, to be honest. But yeah, no, I just wanted to jump in to see if you guys have any questions that I can answer at this point. And I'll also actually go into my list of questions that I always have, just in case we don't really have any new questions coming in, so that we have other topics to talk about. Okay, there you go. Okay. I have my little document here. Okay, great. Well, how is everyone doing? I hope you guys are having a good start of the week, Monday. It's pretty good here in terms of the weather in Toronto. Very happy. Finally, it feels like summer. So, one day soon, hopefully, it's gonna actually become summer. But yeah, well, some of the things that I wanted to also talk about is some of the latest things that happened at Scrum Master, really. Since the last time we spoke, I think we still had a few new things coming in terms of, I think, products. At the last time, I didn't talk about the Scrum. I maybe talked about it actually. Scrum Master Planner. So this is one of the things that we have just launched, and if you are interested, I pinned the Scrum Master Planner to the stream, so you should be seeing it somewhere, like on the chat, top chat or something. Yeah, it's one of the kind of products we recently released some pretty cool videos, really interesting videos coming your way. This Thursday, we have how to run a sprint review. And I'm going to be showing an example of kind of a written sprint review if that counts. Well, I mean, I think that counts. It's a very good example that I'm going to be showing you there in that video. We have a video later coming up on a bit of note taking, kind of giving you some ideas of how you can organize your notes and what are some of the tools I use as well. So that would be maybe next week. And then some other things that I'm looking into. I want to look once again into ChatGPT potentially and talk about how it can help you to create a resume. So we'll be looking into that and giving you some also ideas of how you can use that for yourself. And yeah, so lots of good ideas. I also started looking into some, let's say, competitors of scrum.org, just to give you an overview of some of the things I'm doing, kind of like a reaction video that is coming your way. But yeah, it's going to be fun, I think, this one. Okay, we have Mikhail Nicole has a question here. Let's jump in then into questions. I think that's enough for the introduction. So, how to handle an existing team that has no Scrum Master and has many tasks that have been in progress for 300 to 400 plus days? Where do you even start to help this team? Well, there are tasks that have been in progress for over a year. Um, that is a problem. I mean, are they actually in progress? I think that is the first question to ask. Are they in progress, or they have been started maybe some time ago, and then since then no one actually touched them? So in reality, they are not in progress. And I'm pretty sure there are quite a few of those tasks that if they are not in progress, no one's working on them, no one is really asking for them, just delete them. Like, as just go and everything, remove it, put it into an archive, and the team most likely will say, well, we started working on it, we can't just delete it. But the reality is, even if you have started working on it, but if it's no longer important, no one really works on it and no one cares about it, delete it. It doesn't matter whether you started or not, it matters whether you should finish. So yeah, I think if there are way too many tasks that are kind of sitting there, you will need to go one by one. I don't know how many you have. I assume there will be a lot. If there are so many tasks that have been in progress for over a year, then definitely I assume a lot of the things that have been, like, more things have been created. I would first maybe try identify which tasks the team realistically is working on, which are really in progress. Identify any that are blocked, so flag them to identify what are they blocked by. Maybe it's a team, so that you can maybe identify if there is one team you need to be in contact with to figure out whether those tasks are still valid. But that is one of the things you can do. And then obviously, if you're, like, the question you asked here really is, where do I even start to help this team? And you will most likely encounter a lot of problems in this situation. I assume there will be problem with lots of change in priorities, lack of clarity on the goals and metrics. Is there product owner? If they don't have a scrum master, do they even have a product owner or someone who is making decisions or giving the team the work? Or is the team like receiving work from all of the different angles? And what is the process for that? Yeah, I would say kind of going into the audit and observation mode at the beginning. That would be, I think, like the first thing that you will need to do. And in the first few weeks, you will need to really try to understand what is going on in the team, why they made certain decisions. Clearly, there are some items that have been sitting there for such a long time and no one cares. There must be some kind of decision made. Why are we keeping those? So they have a manager, not product owner. Okay, it's an information security team. Okay, so they have a manager. Great. Is the manager the person who assigns the tasks? I think my question is, how are the priorities being defined? Is it the manager, the only person who makes the priority, or who decides what the priorities are or not? And that would be one of the things. I think it's going to be your manager, but then there will be also most likely a few other people who are kind of coming in maybe higher on the hierarchy, who also have their say in what the team should be working on. Yeah, but there's going to be a cleanup. I think you will need to spend a lot of time in refinement with the team. So, but before you do anything, before you actually make any changes, first go into full observation and auditing mode, trying to figure out what is going on. And you want to be able to fix everything. Try to find small things that you can help with, right? For example, to make it a bit clear what the team should be working on right now, right? So that could be one of the quick wins that you can achieve by figuring out what's actually going on with this list of tasks. So I hope it gives you some ideas. Daisy K is asking, do you know any resources that can help me to convert previous skills to put on my resume? Your transition from a Scrum Master role to a Scrum Master role. What skills would you like to convert? I think that would be a question. So if you are bringing in more, let's say, what are some of the skills that I would expect you to have? Things related to teaching, training, coaching, facilitation. So I don't know if you can convert them. I think the conversion part will happen as you start working in the Scrum Master role. I think what you would want to do is identify what those skills are that are relevant to the Scrum Master role, such as the 3 I mentioned, and put them in front in your resume, specifically highlighting where did you learn those skills, how did you use them. So you can do a lot of coaching without being a Scrum Master with the teams, right? That whatever your role was. Same you can do when you are doing some teaching. Maybe you run some training for your team, things like that. And that these are some of the skills that you can put up front. And in terms of facilitation, I think facilitation can be a good one also to show if you have a way to show if you facilitated maybe some workshops or discussions, maybe some decision or brainstorming meetings. So those would be the things that you would want to put up front. And then in terms of the tools or resources, yeah, I guess whatever you can find in terms of what the Scrum Master does, think about if you are currently still working with a team, what are some of the things that you can bring in and maybe try to implement in this team? Because I think that can be helpful, and then you will be able to show that you don't just have the skills, but you actually also apply them more specifically in that Scrum Master role, or kind of a Scrum Mastery way, let's put it that way. So yeah, I think that is kind of the what I see, because yeah, as I said, the conversion itself will happen as you start working the Scrum Master role. Okay, Noor has a question. Hi, Noor. What is meant by the term setting up the value stream? Oh, okay. So the value stream is kind of the concept that helps your product teams really understand what is the value we're delivering to the customers, and in this case define which would be the most important to deliver, what are some of the functionalities you want to deliver. So value stream will really be associated more with some value metrics that you set for your product that can help you decide and prioritize. This also relates to, I think, setting goals as well. Usually the way kind of how companies also often come to this setting up the value stream is, say you have a bunch of different products in a company, right? And they kind of are working on this platform, etc. But now they want to try to understand, okay, we want to organize our products or our teams around value streams, right? And that is why they're trying to understand what those value streams are. And that is how they're trying to organize the teams usually around that. So the value stream maybe related to a specific functionality, for example, or feature that your product is delivering, or it can be related to just one specific product. And it comes back to setting up like the metrics, KPIs around that value. So if we're looking at, say, just thinking about the Scrum Master, the products. So we can say that education, like educational content creation for Scrum Master is one value stream, right? So like self-study educational content creation. So that is one value stream. It has specific types of customers who are interested in that, and we are organizing our work, our projects, our teams. Well, we only have one team, but we had many. We can organize everything around this one value stream. And then we can look at the other value stream. Maybe another value stream would be ongoing consulting for teams and companies. So that can be another value stream because it has different kind of customers. It delivers a different value. So that would be maybe another value stream around which we can organize our teams. So those are kind of the things that how you can look into that. Okay, another question from Mikala. How to make retrospectives more interactive and engaging? We use Miro boards, we do icebreakers and different themes, but I still seem static sometimes. How do you run your retrospectives? Well, retrospectives is the whole big topic. I don't know if you've seen my last video I did on it. I think I kind of touched on some of the things that you would need to do. In terms of one of the things I think often that is missing when we are trying to like spice up our retrospectives is that we focus too much on that, making it fun, icebreakers, let's do different themes in our retrospectives, but we forget why we're doing the retrospectives. So what happens is the team kind of starts looking at, oh, retrospective is pretty much like a team building meeting. So when we go in there, it's like when you're going for like an office dinner with your colleagues. You're kind of enjoying the dinner, but it also still is a work thing. So you're not really enjoying it. And I think that is what happens with retrospectives, that they kind of turn into more of team building activity rather than an actual important meeting. And so the teams look at it that way, and then they kind of say, well, it's good, it's fun, we're doing icebreakers, but it's not something I want to spend my time on maybe every sprint. And so what's important is to move it back to why the main objective of the sprint retrospective, which is for the team to improve. So I think maybe actually bringing you back to being more serious can help, saying, hey, we are doing all of the themes, we are doing icebreakers, we're trying to have fun, but in reality, what we're trying to achieve by the end of this meeting is to discuss how we can improve as a team. And I think bringing in focus to that is very important for the teams, to remind them that we're not just here to have fun, we're here to actually do some work, right? And sometimes just bringing this back to the goal can help. In terms of making them interactive and engaging, I think the fact that you're using Miro, that's great. That's one of the things. And having some different themes. I would say you don't have to like go overboard with themes, you know. You can find retrospectives on like Star Wars retrospective, SpongeBob retrospective, all of those things. And it's fun and everything. But I think sometimes it's like going way too far. Like we're trying to like basically we're treating the development team as if they're children, and we're bringing them fun things to do so that they stay focused. But I think sometimes it actually doesn't help, you know. Generally, if you are doing the retro, make sure that you're breaking people into smaller groups. Make sure you give people time to brainstorm, to think. I think I have a video, I think, on remote meetings. Where was it? I think one of my not such a long time videos that I posted that talks about it, where I give you some ideas. I think facilitating meetings with big groups, and I also give you 4 different different techniques that you can use, brainstorming exercises. Let me quickly put in the link that can be here. I'm gonna send it here. Good. How to handle? Okay, I'm going for the next question. Noor is asking how to handle the dysfunctional stakeholder. Depends on what the dysfunction is. If the stakeholder is being maybe just too much into the team's face, let's put it that way. If the stakeholder is always there, they want to know what status of, like, how is the team progressing, what is the status of the tasks, are we there yet, as maybe stakeholder who comes in and constantly changes priorities. So that can be also another way how a stakeholder might be acting, and it's not very helpful. How do you handle them? Well, first of all, you definitely need to start building relationships with them. So you would want to make sure that you have time where you meet with them, you speak with them, you try to really, and the question is not, we're kind of jumping into this meeting and let me tell you what I expect from you, what to do, what you should be doing, but really trying to understand what their goal is and what are some of the challenges that they are facing on a daily basis that kind of leads them to act in a dysfunctional way. Let's put it that way. And looking for not ideas, but looking for ways of how you can maybe give them the information they're looking for, or give them a bit more feeling that things are under control, so that they don't feel that they have to check in with you and with the team all of the time. And so in this case, you are trying to just find kind of where they're coming from, their challenges, their issues, and looking for ways of how you can help them. And then after you have this, well, you started building the relationships, right? You try to figure out, okay, what are they doing? How are they working with the team? How is your team impacting their work? After that, you want to step into more of a training route, because they need to understand also what their role is in this new way of working. And they might be just used to the fact that they could come in and, change priorities whenever they wanted. But now it's not okay. So you want to actually explain to them why it's not okay, what are the rules. You want to make sure that they are aligned on what you're trying to achieve, your team is trying to achieve, and they understand the process. And so once you explain that, you also need to make sure that there is still some kind of process in place that can allow them to do whatever they used to do. It's just in a more structured way. What I mean by that is, with one of the teams we worked with, we had kind of customers coming into the team space and always asking for stuff to do basically on a daily basis, saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And so the teams were used to that. They would just, okay, sure, sit down, let's look at it. And they would be disrupted for the rest of the day. And honestly, the stakeholders didn't even know what the impact of this was. And I needed to work both with the team to explain to them how to handle the stakeholders who are coming into their space, kind of how to say no, who to forward them to. But then I needed to sit down with those stakeholders and say, hey, we're making some changes in how we work. And one of the things is that you cannot just walk in and tell the team what to do, but I have another alternative for you. So you can't just say no, you need to provide something in return. And so in this case, we had a very well-structured process where it was very clear to them where they need to go, what they need to do to put in their new requests, right? We had some SLAs in place where they knew how much time it's going to take to maybe get a reply. And so that even though we no longer allowed them to do what they used to do, we gave them another way to achieve their goals. So I think that's some of the things that you would need to consider when you are working with the dysfunctional stakeholders. Good. Okay, so going further, another question from Mikawa. As a Scrum Master, how to handle a product owner who makes decisions and changes without consulting or discussing with the Scrum Master first about the team and process changes? Depends on where they do the changes. Is it the changes to the product backlog? Because they can do whatever they want with the product backlog. In terms of changes to the process, I think, or changes maybe to the sprint backlog. In this case, you need to make sure that they understand the process. Maybe they don't understand the role. I would also have kind of like an expectations setting session with this person. And the way you do that is you write down all of the different tasks that are being done or decisions that are being made within the team. For example, decisions on to change processes or something like this. And coming into that meeting, you kind of take each post-it note and you say, okay, this task, changing processes, who is accountable for that? Who has the right to make the decision on it? Well, it's going to be the team. One product owner cannot actually make this decision without first talking with the team. And then you set those expectations one by one. And I think really highlighting who has which role. So processes, that's on the Scrum Master, right? And that is your accountability and setting this expectation, right? Saying, hey, I'm a Scrum Master. I am responsible for all of these things. So when there are some changes that we want to implement, we need to discuss that. In the same way, you, as a product owner, you're responsible for the product backlog. So focus on that. Is our product backlog well prioritized? Is it well refined? Is it ready for the sprint? So really making sure that the product owner understands like the boundaries of their role and the boundaries of your role. So yeah, just, kind of talk to them and make sure that they understand what your and the product owner's roles are. Another question that is coming further: as a Scrum Master, what can I do to further develop my facilitation skills? How to get better at asking more powerful questions in meetings? Well, the real answer to that, the real way to improve is to fail a lot. I think that the facilitation comes to that. I think it's kind of, you keep doing it. You're going to do a lot of meetings, or you're going to try a lot of different tools or techniques that will fail, that will not work, that will lead to very awkward conversations, silences, and all of that. And through that this is how you learn. Really through facilitation, you are trying it as much as you can, and that's how you improve. There's no other way. Even if you say you learn many different techniques, what's the most important is to actually try them out, right? For example, in my video that I mentioned a bit earlier, the brainstorming techniques, I talked about 4 liberating structures that you can use. You can know them, but you first need to run them, and then as you run them, you will notice, okay, here are a few things that are not working. Here's what I need to change. And this is exactly how I worked, right? My first classes that I run, like PSM 1, PSM 2 classes, I did a lot of mistakes. Like, I made so many mistakes that made us be off track, completely break all of the time boxes I set. Once I remember I had a class and I wanted to finish one section of the class so bad that instead of trying to adapt and figure out what would be the best way to reorganize my exercises, I pushed the people in the class to like basically go without lunch until like 1 p.m. to finish this exercise, and then I send them after to lunch. And I remember that because I was looking at the time like, oh, I can't, like, why can't I reorganize? Why can't I keep the structure? And it's just through doing that. And then every time you're running an exercise, something that works, write it down. Something that doesn't work, write it down, and write down what you can do next time differently to help you. Yeah. Okay. Rock 13. Okay, another question from someone new. I see some other people as well. I see Sharzad. I see Shivani, Tree Claire, and Raphael. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I see all of your questions. I'm gonna get to them. Okay, so Rock 13, let's look into the question that you have here. What it means to be cross-functional. Does it include the product owner and the scrum master, or does it just apply to the developers? So cross-functionality applies to the whole scrum team, and it's just that we have the product owner that has very specific purpose. The same scrum master has very specific purpose and accountabilities, but both not like cross-functional personally. I think here, okay, let me maybe step back. So cross-functionality is something that we say when we are referring to the Scrum team. What we mean by that is that the Scrum team as a whole, as the whole team, has all of the skills necessary in order to create the product. So it means that we have all of the skills we would need on the team to be able to create something without being dependent on someone. It doesn't mean that every single person is cross-functional, like a developer must know everything. That is an unrealistic expectation. We will have people on our team who will be more specifically maybe focused on just coding, others more specifically focused on just design. And that is normal. We still have specialties. That's why I have the product owner who is focused specifically on maximizing the value of the product, and the Scrum Master who is focused specifically on the processes and the implementation of Scrum, while the developers are focused on building the product. So the cross-functional, it applies to the whole unit, like the whole unit as Scrum team as a unit. So that's what we mean by it. So what it also we're trying to do with that is that we're trying to reduce the dependencies. So we want to reduce the dependencies between the team and maybe other parts of the organization. And the more skills and knowledge we have within the team, the less we are dependent on other people. So yeah, that's the gist of it, let's say. Okay, we have Sharzad, Dina. How do you improve trust and teamwork in a team that are finger pointing in retrospectives? Oh, that's a hard one. Most likely it is coming from just the culture of the company. Maybe, especially if there is some history, whether within the team, with the manager of this team, or just the company in general, that kind of makes it like almost okay to finger point. So you need to kind of go back to the root of the problem to try to figure out what you can do. And maybe what you would want to understand is, first of all, how escalated are the conflicts right now in the team. because you might be in a situation where you're coming into the team that has very, very difficult conflicts that have been going on for a really long time. I think you need to identify the root of those conflicts and try to understand, where they're coming from, because this is something that where you will potentially you will need that information when you're helping the teams to get back on track. So really trying to figure out where the conflicts are coming from, because most likely people kind of are focusing on different goals. Talking about goals, going back to what those goals are, what is the team, like people on the team, are they actually all working towards the same common goal? Or maybe, sometimes it happens that you have a team that is constructed from people from different departments. And so technically every person has their own goal associated with their department, and they're not really working together in one team. So you want to go back to that. You want to see what is going on in terms of the goals, what the goals are. And if there isn't a clear team goal, if there isn't a clear connection between what the team does and the organization, or like the goals of the organization, you want to start there. You want to make sure that the goals are extremely clear for the team and they know exactly what they're working towards. Because if you have those clear goals, whenever a problem happens, you can remind everyone, hey, we're all working towards the same goal. So it's not about who did what and when and why. It's more about how can we work together to achieve that goal, because we cannot achieve that goal on our own, like in a silo. We have to work together. So having a clear goal, definitely a must. You do want to figure out what's going on and if there are specific conflicts that you need to actually address, especially if like between one person, like one-on-one conflicts that you might have. So those would be things that you would want to look into. Thinking. What else can be useful? Going back to, I think, doing some training can be useful. Like reminding people what a team is, why you're working together. That's where those goals will come in again. If the team didn't have it yet, I think having team working agreements could be helpful, but I would first try to figure out if there are specific conflicts and address those, because otherwise you will try to do like working agreements and people will say whatever, doesn't matter, put whatever you want, but they will not be committed to it. So you want to, when you're doing team working agreements, that the team is already kind of on a stable level, like they're not in a fighting mode. And then when the finger pointing happens, actually like stop it immediately and say, look, it doesn't matter who did what. It doesn't matter who to blame. We're not here to figure out who to blame. We're here to find a solution together. So always remind that, right? Always get back to what is our goal. Collaboration and teamwork. It's not about who did what, right? Always kind of going back to that. And the retrospective prime directive can be very helpful for that. So if I put this, I'll type it in real quick so that you can find it. This is something that I definitely like to use, especially on teams who are struggling with like trust issues, I guess, is to always start with the retrospective prime directive. So give me a second. Okay, I misspelled it the first time. So retrospective prime directive. So start there. That can be a good one. Basically, every retrospective, you start with this. Okay, we have another comment from Shivani, who says how to motivate developers to take participation in the retrospectives, they feel kind of waste of time when there are some release or priority tasks to be finished or have some pressure. Well, and I think I talked a little bit about this just earlier in the stream. Remind them that the retrospective is not something touchy-feely where we come in to have like good time together or a team building activity. It is a serious meeting where we come together to find solutions and improve. It is the developer's responsibility to actually do that work. And yeah, kind of going back to that more of like a serious note on retrospectives and just reminding the team that that's why we're here. That's why I need your participation. And also set the goal for every retrospective to have at least one action item, one improvement. And then next retrospective, the first thing you do, you start by reviewing this improvement. Okay, how did we do? Did we implement it? Oh no, we didn't implement it. Why didn't we implement it? Oh, we didn't have time. Okay, so do you want to improve this? Because the problem that we were trying to solve with this is still there. Or did this problem go away? Well, no, the problem's still there. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? So you are actually putting that responsibility back on them because they feel that retrospectives are a waste of time because probably they are. And the reason is not that you are doing a bad job at facilitation, it's just that you as a team are not focused enough on the action, like taking action, and you want to bring it back to that, hey, we're here to take action. And if we're not taking action, of course it's going to be a waste of time. What do you think was going to happen? Yeah, and I talk a lot about retrospectives in a few different videos. So yeah, go check my retrospectives. I don't have a folder or playlist, but if you just look for retrospective related videos or on my blog, you can also select a tag retrospectives. You should be able to see many different examples of what you can do. Okay. Tree Claire asks, what do you recommend on how to present previous skills like facilitation, coaching, and training skills on my resume to attract an interview? All these roles were in a non-IT sector. Well, the Scrum Master role is not necessarily an IT role. So I don't think that the fact that it's not IT has anything to do with that. If you obviously have good people who know what they're talking about, who are like hiring you, obviously you will have some people who will think that you need to be an ex-developer to be a Scrum Master, but that's fine. They won't hire me either because I have no development background. But in terms of talking about those skills, just talk about the examples, like bring in the examples when you're describing the work that you did. Bring in the examples that are related to those skills, right? If you're talking about coaching, well, maybe you were coaching the team. Training, maybe you run some training workshops or training programs, whatever that is, right? Facilitation, you facilitated discussions, brainstorming, etc. And that's kind of how you bring it in and focus on those skills in your resume when you're describing your positions. And then also when you are, because if you don't have the Scrum Master role, like the experience of the Scrum Master, then obviously if people are kind of going through your resume, they will not see it. They obviously won't be interested. But what you can do is actually have the highlight the skills up front, right? First you have the summary, you have your skills, and then you talk about, like, you have the experience. So just that way you are highlighting the most important skills first. Okay, so Shivani, another question. Have some more new people there. We have Marco, Paris, Ibrahim, Alexa, and OJ. So, hello everyone. I see all of your questions. There are lots of questions. Always awesome. Okay, so Shivani's question: how to implement a Scrum in a team who does more of the support work? Challenge that we don't have some static sprint goal, but a dynamic issues come with different priority and unknown sizes. Why are you trying to implement Scrum? Is it what are you focusing on? Are you trying to optimize the workflow? Like, are you trying to get through those tasks faster? Because if you don't have any like sprint goals that you can set, and you're unable to plan ahead even for maybe a week long sprint, if you're unable to do that, then is Scrum really the right approach to your situation? I would say if you are able to plan, right, you're able to plan for a week, you can maybe do weekly sprints. What I mean by planning for a week is that you are able to set a goal that you can keep for the duration of the sprint. When you set a goal and you know that you can achieve it within a sprint, and you know that you have enough, like your planning horizon allows you to stay on this goal for the whole sprint, then Scrum could be a good approach. But then you need to work on those goals very specifically and make the decisions on like what are you going to work on in this sprint and what are some of the things that will go into the next one. For example, in this case, if something new comes into the sprint during the sprint, well, no, not like that. If something new comes into your list of tasks, so your product backlog during the sprint, you're not just automatically taking it into the sprint. Like, that is, I think, the main point of this, is that you don't just grab whatever comes your way, you plan for it. And so it means that you need to be able to say, all of these things that came into our product backlog, great, we're going to look into them, we're going to refine them, we're going to prioritize them, estimate them, but the earliest we're going to work on them is next sprint. If you can do that, then you would be able to have a pretty structured Scrum process. But if you really are dynamically have to adapt like every single day, I'm not sure that Scrum is something that you can do, right? Unless your team wants to really dedicate kind of their time and effort into implementing it. But then it means more planning, and it means that you need to be able to say no to some of the things. Not like no, but not now. Okay, more Raphael Newsom is asking, is the CAM CAPM certification worth getting? Okay, so you have a Scrum certification, Agile Coach certification, but don't have much experience in Scrum or project management. And you're passionate about coaching and training. If you're more passionate about coaching and training, I'm not sure that the CAPM certification is as useful. Like, I was going for CAPM certification back in the day when I was still like finishing university, because I was finishing the project management degree. Then it seemed like a good idea, but then it's also not like a full PMI certification, right? It's like the level below, which is easier to pass, but still. So I'm not sure if it's going to be seen as valuable in the Agile Coach / Scrum Master role, because it seems like this is what you want to focus on. If you are focusing more on being project manager and you want to enter the project management space, then it can be useful, though I think that it would have to be the full PMI certification, not just CAPM. And generally, I think certifications are good, but are they really as important? I think that your experience is more important. right? So focus on where can I get the experience, relevant experience, whether it is in an official Scrum Master or Project Manager role, or in another role where you can get that relevant experience, where you can shadow someone, right? So I think that brings more value to you professionally. Marco is asking, hi, have you ever built a completely new team? Do you have any advice on what to deliberately focus on when doing so? Well, yes and no. I have built a new team, and not in an organizational way, as in like bringing in people. Say we have a Scrum team, we're trying to build a Scrum team in an organization, and we need to identify people who we need for the team. So that is not something that I did, but I would have started a lot of Scrum teams from scratch, where people have been already defined, identified, and then they were put together and like pushed into Scrum, and we needed to help them set up everything that they needed to do. What to focus on when doing so? Okay, well, if you're building a Scrum team, right, you want to make sure that you want to reduce the dependencies the team has. And in this case, what you would want to do is to look into what are some of the skills and knowledge your team needs in order to be independent of everyone else, right? Which in big organizations could be pretty complex. And you want to bring in people with different skills and knowledge, kind of complementary skills and knowledge. You want to make sure that when you are building this team, people who are coming into this team are focused, can be focused on that one goal that you set for the Scrum team. If you are kind of grabbing people from over the organization and like putting them into the team, but then they have their a day job, then that's going to be hard for them to manage, and they will never feel dedicated to that Scrum team. So if you can have like a 100% allocation on the Scrum team you're building, that's good. And then in terms of other things, what are other things that you want to do? You want to make sure that you have a mix of skill and knowledge levels or seniority. So you don't want to have a team of just juniors or a team of just seniors. But when you have juniors and seniors with maybe a big gap, you do want to take into account like what kind of people you are bringing in. More specifically, people who are in those senior positions. Are they able to take a step back and be more of a leader than a manager? So kind of so that they do not impose their opinions on others. Like, are they able to take on that role and step back sometimes? What else you want to do? Well, I mean, culture fit, just to see will these people work well together. You will obviously know it later, but I would say that it's good to take this into account. If you maybe have already 2 people on your team and you're looking for a third one, make sure that you have some kind of interviews process behind it, so that you are bringing in people who are aligned with your values. Speaking of values, if you're building a Scrum team, making sure that people are not like allergic to Scrum, as in they are willing to commit themselves to Scrum and follow the rules, and that they are ready to implement new things. They're open-minded. They are willing to learn something new. Because we had people who would be kind of hired and put into a team, and then you would learn that they hate Scrum so much that they are unwilling to do anything Scrum related. Like, what can you do? You can't do anything with that. Just don't bring people like that on your team if you're building a Scrum team. Or, whatever the team is, don't bring people who are not aligned with the values or principles that you're putting in place. There's so many questions. Okay. Paris. Paris is asking, not sure if you discussed this, but do you have or know of any resources to help a Scrum Master ask relevant questions during meetings to ensure the work is being done? Is it specifically to ensure the work is being done? I think I'm don't like this phrase, ensure the work is being done. I think the questions to ask is to help the team figure out the best ways to track their work, to work together, to collaborate. But ensuring the work is being done, do you not trust your team? Are your developer, did your developers that are in your team break your trust by not doing the work? I think I like just the way it is written. I'm kind of don't think that that's what you should be focusing on. In terms of good questions to ask, yeah, look into the powerful questions. You can find it on Coactive Coaching website. So if you look into Coactive, yeah, so look into that. There are some good resources you can find. I'm gonna start going faster. Thank you so much. I think I have a better understanding because I read a lot of information, as I can't land a Scrum Master job, so I read a lot and attend events. That's a message from Rock 13. But I think I got stuck with cross-functional means that developer team can help by doing the remaining work, such as the developer doing the documentation, the QA tester can also help with the code. Well, I mean, if there is some way for them to collaborate, you want to do that. You don't want people to kind of just finish their own task in their own corner, say, hey, I finished my code, I have nothing to do now. And then the QAs are like under pressure, have no time to complete everything. Like, you want to plan for the whole team to work together in such a way that it's not just, hey, I finished my task, I have nothing else to do. Well, the team haven't finished the goal, like the team hasn't achieved the goal, and it means that you still have work to do. So you would want to have some kind of collaboration, right? You don't want to create silos between the team members, but it doesn't mean that each team member is like cross-functional and knows everything. Ibrahim is asking, hi, what are the main steps to implement Scrum in a data team, skipping the Scrum training teams? I'm not sure I understood this last part. You say skipping, or was it supposed to be keeping the Scrum trainings to teams? What is the main steps to implement Scrum in a data team? I'd say the main steps to implement Scrum in any team is training. You start with training, making sure that everybody is aligned, everybody knows what Scrum is, why you're doing it. That's a very important question to answer, like why actually the team should be doing it, what benefits they will be able to gain from it. So starting from training, making sure that what I talked about when I was answering Marco's question, I think what I talked about in terms of how do you create a team, so a few things to kind of take into account is that cross-functionality. Are the team able to work together? Do they have all the skills necessary, right? And that would be something that you would want to kind of ask the team when you are building and implementing Scrum, to just ask them the question to identify what skills and knowledge they need. And you definitely want to do that with the team to make sure that you actually have all of the skills and knowledge you need for that team to be successful, to reduce the dependencies on everyone else. Then I think it's good to, so after training, you would want to do some team working agreements. And during that time, this is where, apart from kind of discussing the behaviors, how people will work together, you also will focus on the organization of your scrum, well, of your sprints really, where you would discuss, okay, when do we have our planning daily? Do we want to have a meeting for backlog refinement, right? You make decisions around where you store your product backlog. It's good to have some product backlog already created before you start your first sprint, so that you have some work you can immediately take into the sprint. And then it's step by step. I would not recommend immediately implementing like story points or estimation. Just go for a couple of sprints without it. I think there is already enough change for the team, apart from kind of implementing extra practices in there. So that would be that. What else could it be? And if you're using any new tools, say you're using Jira and the team has never worked with Jira, make sure you do training for that. And like you explain step by step how to use those tools so that it's easy for people to use them. And then inspect and adapt. Retrospectives, always a must. Alexei's asking, Alexei is asking, I'm in such a setup that my developers are not working on the same topics. How do you recommend setting a sprint goal in that case, and how to measure it? Oh, thank you, Alexa. Awesome channel. Thanks. So why are they in a team? That will be my first question to you. If they are never working on the same topics, like ever, why are they in the same team? Are they collaborating at all during the sprint? Because if they're not collaborating and just working in silos, maybe they shouldn't be a team. I would say that the whole point of having a team working on one product is that they collaborate and you're trying to get the benefits of teamwork, of them working together on this something. And if they never work on the same goal together, then you're actually just have a group of individuals. Especially if you're coming into the daily scrum and then one person is talking about something while everybody else is like falling asleep because they don't care at all about what this other person is working on. So I would ask these questions. Then the other thing to do is going back to a product backlog, right? So you are creating the product backlog. You may, I assume, when you're coming into the sprint planning, the first thing you do is you open your product backlog and you pick in all of the items into the sprint backlog, and they're like, okay, so how do we create a sprint goal out of that? That's backwards. You need to start with the sprint goal. What is our sprint goal? What is the main, most important thing we're trying to achieve? And then based on the sprint goal, you take items from the product backlog. It might mean that you will be taking items that are maybe lower down in the product backlog to create more cohesion between the team members. So maybe top priority is feature A, right? And just because you already started working on that, maybe you will look into the product backlog and say, well, this one also touches somewhere around this feature and kind of is the same topic. Should we take it into our sprint as well? Because it actually is related to what our main goal is. So you switch kind of how you actually approach this. So I have not a lot of time and a lot of questions. We have OJ, I have Apurva, Olu, Alessandra, going remote to Passport Bro as well. So those are all of the new people who joined. I think that I will not actually have time to answer all of these questions, but what we're going to do, I'm going to ask, and know if Eliza, you're still on the stream. What I think we'll do is grab all of these questions and you can either re-ask them on the stream, like in the comments, or what I can do is do some maybe shorts to answer some of these questions. I think that can be something that definitely we can do. shorts, maybe stories on Instagram if you're following me on Instagram. Yeah, maybe I will be covering a super long question. If it's really long, maybe you can put it into the comments, because chat is limited to 200 characters, but you should be able to put it into the comments under videos. Okay, good question. When is the next live session? I don't know. Okay, so it took me only 3 years to already figure out that I will be posting a new video every Thursday. Now, we're still in the process of figuring out how often I'm going to be going live. I am trying to do it every 2 weeks right now. So I think if I am doing it, it's going to be on Mondays. I feel like Mondays work a bit better. We tried it on Tuesdays, but it didn't work for my schedule, and also less people were able to join. So I think I will be doing it on a Monday in a couple of weeks. Before I promise you anything, I mean, don't take anything I say right now as a promise. Let me see. If we're doing 2 weeks, well, yeah, I technically I should be able to do that in 2 weeks on Monday. I don't have any classes or anything, so potentially, I'll try to do it every couple of weeks. Yeah, thanks, Eliza. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna be copy pasting all of your questions. So the questions that I didn't answer from OJ, who was talking about getting the CSM 2 weeks ago and graduating in university, and very tech savvy. What should be my early steps to get my foot in the door? I have a couple of videos on that. I'm gonna encourage you to look into some of my videos on how to get started, like what are the steps to get into the Scrum Master role. We have a question from Apurva, who I was not able to answer. Then another one from Sharzad, Olu, Alessandra, another one from Shivani, and of course the questions from going remote to Passport. Yeah, so we'll copy all of that, and I'll try to answer all of these in shorts or in some other way. You can always leave some of the comments, like just the comments on the videos. That helps me, so definitely feel free to add extra questions under my videos if there is something that maybe I didn't cover. I usually go back to the questions and comments in YouTube, and I try to reply as much, giving as much info as I can. But yeah, well, I think I'm gonna be finishing it here, for the reason being that it's lunchtime and I definitely want to go grab something to eat, and I have another meeting soon, so definitely need to have some sustenance before I continue my work day. I am copying all of these questions before I forget right here. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I will always love it here, chatting with you. Yeah, I copied all of the questions, and I hope to see you in the next one. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me, as always. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much. And did you get my super chat notification from YouTube? I'm not sure. Let me check. I don't think I saw an email or anything, but thank you for the super chat. And yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. Have a great week. Hope to see you soon. Check out my video that will be coming out this Thursday. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.